If you're a head teacher and feeling guilty about using CPD budget for leadership coaching, i.e. spending money on yourself, then I want to share with you in this video why you need to reconsider. I want to share with you lessons I've learned from my own experience as a head teacher and also lessons I have learned over the past 20 odd years coaching heads as to the reasons why coaching is an investment and the ripple effect that it has when school leaders take the opportunity to meet their own needs. So let's begin. The first lesson that I sadly learned or believed when I was a head was that you have to carry the world upon your shoulders. Now, it doesn't take too much of a stretch of the imagination to know what happened to Viv Grant, believing that, and to begin with, not having anyone to walk alongside her as a coach. Two, I also believed as a head teacher, I had to keep my emotions to myself. No one had to know when Viv Grant was upset. No one had to know when I was racked with self-doubt. No one had to know about the moments when I find myself almost in tears, wondering whether I could carry on in the role. That was for me to hold and for no one else to know and for no one else to have an understanding what was going on in my inner world. That's what I thought. That was the culture at the time of school leadership. And then lastly, because of that, my inner circle was very small. And what that also meant was I rarely trusted others. And again, it just meant that I carried the burden of school leadership too much by myself. And so if you're a head teacher watching this, I just want to reflect back to you and encourage you to think about how much of what Viv has just shared there resonates with me. How much of those behaviors do I recognize in terms of how I am holding leadership and what has been the cost? I'm going to share with you now what I have learned as a coach walking alongside school leaders as to why then meeting our needs and not ignoring them actually proves to have a huge return on investment for everyone. Because when we don't, there's this impact. The impact is our heart becomes hardened. We find an inability to connect with ourselves, to connect with others. And it's almost as if there's a constant storm cloud that hangs over us. So then, what is it that I have learned traveling alongside school leaders about how to really invest wisely in ourselves, in yourself as a school leader? Well, the first lesson is all to do with bringing alignment. I'd like you just to have a look at this iceberg here. Think of it as a metaphor for yourself. Because what we know about icebergs is it's the 80% that's beneath the surface of the water that has the biggest impact if a ship crashes into it. Very much the same for us as adults. And I know this working alongside school leaders. It's those who pay attention to what's underneath the surface, their values, their traits, their habits, their motivations, the impact in terms of how effectively they show up above the surface. So what we need to remember, and what you need to remember, is the higher levels, what people see above the waterline, your personal waterline, they are not an indication of whether you will be able to sustain yourself in the role. It's all to do with what's going on underneath. And we need to acknowledge that and recognize that, because that's where coaching comes in. Because when school leaders don't have that type of support, what we see is this misalignment. And I know, even if I've never met you and you're watching this video, you'll be able to identify with the individual there, all armored up, protecting themselves from the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune that so happen to be ever existent and ever present in school leadership. I know that you will resonate with that figure. Equally, I know because you're a human, you'll also resonate with the other figure, where the leadership armor comes off. And how should we attend to that? And that is the question that I hope you're asking yourself. Because what we know is, and what I have experienced both as a head and when I've been called to walk alongside head teachers, is very often the support that comes their way or your way is low trust, high accountability. And that low trust, that high accountability interaction is not that which supports good leadership. When you are asked the type of questions that are here, that are all to do with proving yourself, that are all to do with listening to the judgment of another person and having to respond in a way that is defensive, it doesn't protect you. It does not support good leadership. It does not enable you to really rise above the challenges of your role. All it does is help you to build up your armor, for it to become stronger and stronger. And that's not what I want. And I don't believe it's what you want as a leader. I do believe that you want to lead from a place of real authenticity, a place of deep connection. And so that's when we have to look at then why can we see, or how can we recognize that coaching is an investment in oneself, and it is through that investment that there are ripple effects. If we just take for a moment and we look at this image here, in contrast to the one I showed you earlier, where we have a high trust, high accountability relationship here. This is what coaching is about. For the leaders that I have coached, it's when I or a colleague has come alongside them and we haven't asked them questions that are to do with improving their performance. What we've asked are questions that attend to their inner world, their values, the sense of alignment, how when a challenging situation has come along, we've asked them to explore how they have addressed it and what they have learned about themselves. And the result, it's calmer leadership, clearer decisions, stronger relationships. And they are the ripple effects of coaching. They are the tangible returns on investment compared to the cost of not doing anything, which is the direct opposite. So if you're sitting here watching this, I want you to think about how special you are, how amazing the role is that you do, and just how much more you could benefit, how much more others could benefit if you allowed yourself to have what I would call a professionally intimate relationship with someone else who cares about you as a person. Because as this model shows here, when you as a school leader have that in place, then the locus of control comes from inside. You are motivated by your why, a deeper connection to your values and your purpose. And then leadership changes. How you carry headship changes. And so when we think about this, there's a wider context here. And Parker Palmer is just an author that I particularly love. He's probably in his 80s now. He's a Quaker in the States. And this is one of the things that he says, that the pressures of life and school leadership can drive us away from true self towards images of acceptability. Our original shape is deformed beyond recognition, and we ourselves, driven by fear, too often betray true self to gain the approval of others. And I want to ask you, to what degree does that feel relevant for your own experience of headship? To what degree have the pressures forced you away from who you really are? And that should not be. So I really want you to be thinking, if I invested in myself, if I didn't regard it as selfish to put my own needs first, goodness, what would be the reward? What would be the level of investment for those that I lead? Another quote here from Parker Palmer. And he talks about remembering ourselves and saying that remembering ourselves is more than just recalling a few facts, which your school improvement advisor might want you to do, or your chair of governors at a governing body meeting, but you know the weight of that. You know that that doesn't really restore and rejuvenate you. What I want you to know and understand is that coaching, though, can help you to remember yourself, to remember who you are, and to remember your why. So I just want you to take a pause now and think, moving into the next week, the next month, how are you going to prioritize and put your needs first? What difference would it make if you invested in coaching or any other type of personalised support that truly had your well-being at the centre of it? Now, if you're curious and you're thinking, yeah, I'd really like something like that, then I just want to share this with you. 2 or 3 years ago now, I was diagnosed with a rare type of cancer. I am better now. But through that journey, I learned something more about what it takes to lead and what it takes to, what I framed here, learning to walk in the dark. And coming out the other side of cancer, not only did I write this book, Learning to Walk in the Dark, but I developed a new program for head teachers, specifically enabling heads to understand the deeper psychological and emotional terrain that happens when you go through times of challenge. And if you would like a safe, small, private, confidential space with other head teachers who are aware of their vocational calling and want to stay truly connected to their purpose, then I invite you to inquire more about our new Learning to Walk in the Dark program. It starts in May. There are coaching circles of just 6 individuals per group. You can either join the morning group, which is normally from 8 o'clock to 9:30, or you could join the evening group, which is normally from around 4:30 to 6 o'clock. And they are 6 sessions that run between May and November. And very gently, I guide you through what it means to lead with a deeper sense of purpose and connection to who you are. So if you'd like to journey with us, please follow through. Click on the link that's connected with this video, and I hope to be walking with you soon in May. Thank you.